If you were hoping to learn how to use your camera to take better photos, you have found the right account. Welcome back to the series breaking down shutter speed. If you missed part 1 where I talked all about what shutter speed is, go ahead and tap this comment to go to the original video. If you've ever taken a photo and it looks a little something like this, some part of the image is blurry, that's actually something that's impacted by shutter speed. The faster your shutter speed, the more motion you're able to freeze. The slower your shutter speed, the more motion blur you'll be able to see in your final images. If you're hoping to create a photo with super crisp movement that's frozen, you're going to want a higher shutter speed. If you want to produce an image that shows motion blur, you're going to want to opt for a lower shutter speed. Keep in mind, if you're doing that though, you may want to place your camera on a steady surface like a tripod to ensure that you are just freezing the motion blur that's in front of your camera rather than displaying any kind of camera shake that may come from holding your camera manually. Camera settings all work together, so if you change one camera setting, you may need to change another to balance out the change that you just made. If you're confused, don't worry, I've got you. I'm working on a couple more parts that break down additional camera settings and how they all work together. As I do that, you can get started practicing with shutter speed right away. Snag your camera, look on the top, and change it over to shutter priority mode. For me on Nikon, that's indicated by the letter S. With this particular setting, you will set your shutter speed. From there, your camera will automatically set your other settings, your ISO and your aperture, to compensate for the shutter value that you selected. This may be super weird, but practice on your ceiling fan. Lie down underneath the fan and set a high shutter speed. See what that does to motion, and then see how the other settings on your camera are changed when you select that higher shutter speed. Rinse and repeat with a lower shutter speed. See what that does to motion blur as well as your other camera settings. These images absolutely do not have to be perfect. After all, they are just of your ceiling fan. Really, the biggest thing that you want to get from this is learning how different changes to your shutter speed impact different settings and the overall motion blur that you're seeing in your final images. The goal of this series is to eventually get you confident working on manual mode, and that will come with time. Have fun practicing, and then stay tuned for part 3 where I start breaking down aperture.